Thutmose is coming to Gold Keys, baby! And in this patch, there's a bunch of really important stuff, like the ability to kick somebody out of a garrison. Stick around in this video for a full breakdown of the Tales of Summer patch coming to Rise of Kingdoms. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and let's get this started. The update is happening on the 7th of July, so very soon, about a week away, in fact, less. First up, the event series. There's pretty much always an event series whenever one of these patches lands. The Song of Summer. The evening breeze brings relief from the fierce midday sun. At night, we look out to the river of stars. Summer's drawing to a close, so let's enjoy it together. Is it really drawing to a close? Time freaking flies, man. Festive preparation. So we got a 7-day event. The Festive Gala, where you participate in the banquet and earn decorative items. The Summer Sojourn. Collect flower paper for great rewards. Race Against Time Sorority Assault. All stuff we're familiar with. There's a recharge event around the corner. So for those of you that rarely spend in the game and you want to top up your 30-day gem supply, that is the time to go and do that if you spend. But here's where things get spicy. First of all, improvements to the Season of Conquest. New iconic crystal rewards. We talked about this very recently, that they were going to have more iconic crystals, and the rate with which you could get them was going to go way up. Once this update goes live, new Crusader achievements will become available for players in the Season of Conquest. Complete them to obtain up to 3 iconic crystals and other rewards. So getting an upwards of 5 total iconic crystals per KvK means that, I don't know, maybe 6 months from now, I'll have a meta full iconic second set of gear. But for most people, it simply means making more legendaries is more worthwhile, assuming these are actually, kind of achievable to obtain, because simply dropping iconics onto a legendary you've made suddenly becomes a lot more valuable, and it becomes a lot more worthy to simply make legendaries than it was before. The Season of Conquest now has a by-election phase. This is very important. If you've ever queued up for Season of Conquest and gotten a pass, in fact, this happened to us. Our KvK was canceled, is what I called it. Card will be up in the top for that video, where you can see we'd all registered. We'd hoped we'd get into this massive KvK, and there weren't enough people registered at the right power levels, so it got canceled. So instead of basically saying, try again in 2 weeks to register, they now have a by-election phase. So if people register for KvK, there is now a new phase where they tell you, hey, if this even happens, but hey, for whatever reason, Strife of the 8, there weren't enough registrants. So if you want, you can pick the other type of KvK format, and we'll queue you for that instead this time around, right now. So that's what the by-election phase is, the ability to switch to the other type of format, because they figure there's enough, I guess, kingdoms registered in the other format available to you that instead of just saying register in 2 weeks, you can just switch your kingdom to the other format and jump into a KvK, which I think is kind of a cool addition. The by-election phase, that's how it works. Number 3, you can now see how many refresh chances you have for Bastion quests. I thought the number of refresh chances were unlimited, but you had to wait 10 minutes. So that's going to be interesting to see. I wasn't even aware of that. Let me know down below in the comments if I'm missing what exactly that is. Heroic Anthem power-up changes. Now, this is the new version of KvK that has blockades and it has siege towers. Aggressive mode and peaceful mode is what determines if you automatically attack things you bump into. And so now they can be toggled individually for troops in the armies tab. So it sounds like you can change by army which one is aggressive and which ones are passive. And notifications will now be shown when a troop is blockaded while joining a rally. The rallied army will wait for a short period after the rally timer ends if troops cannot reach the attack location due to being blockaded. Once the warning period has ended, however, the rally will launch. That kind of makes sense. You really need people to attend your rallies, otherwise you may have somebody just kind of like stuck that can't make it. And also, you can now toggle aggressive mode and peaceful mode when dispatching your troops. Okay, cool. Do I think that this is everything that KvK format needs? I don't think so. I imagine we will see more changes to the Heroic Anthem power-up flavor of KvK before we see it again available for queuing up and registration. That would be my guess. Minor changes to the Champions of Olympia. Battle preparation time has changed to 10 seconds. They fixed an issue with the graphics for the Guardians of the Past skill, and Champions of Olympia info can now be shared to your chat. Minor changes to Champions of Olympia, which I think is a good thing. I don't know that this is the game mode where I would want the developers to be putting a lot of their focus right now. I think stellar, balanced KvK formats is where I think the majority of the attention ought to go, and also maybe new game systems that are really fun and exciting for people to play. Battle system improvements, by the way. Improved display effects for selecting targets. Selected targets are now more visually prominent, so I guess it'll be more clear what you're hitting. And also improved display effects for destination markers when holding and dragging troops in order to prevent them from being blocked by your finger. Okay, yeah, so sometimes it's hard to see exactly what you're dragging and dropping onto if you're using a phone especially. Less of an issue, I think, if you're playing on iPad, which I normally do. Here's where you're probably very excited. Thutmose is now in the Tavern, Expedition Shop, and Museum. Now, I know you're thinking, Expedition Shop, are you saying I can get it instead of aethelflaed? And I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's finish this, though. You can now recruit Thutmose at the Tavern, buy his sculptures in the Expedition Shop, or unlock his exhibits and relics in the museum. I am excited to see what his relic will be. This will determine if he will be good enough for the Season of Conquest. And let me tell you that I feel like the developers have actually done a really good job of balancing the majority of the commanders in the museum to be at the sort of edge of being what is meta, but not being meta. And so in other words, what I'm trying to say is that the pre-Season of Conquest commanders are bumped up quite a bit by virtue of having their relic, but they're not so strong that you would use them over a Season of Conquest commander in most cases. So my hope is that Thutmose also, they really like push the limit on like really making him as strong as they possibly can, without, I guess, making him stronger than like Boudica Prime, for example. But let's double back on the unlock from the Expedition Shop, because my hope is that they will actually go in and they will put him right where aethelflaed is, right? But I think the reality is, unfortunately, that it will probably just be in the rotation over here. And you might see one sculpture show up every couple months, realistically. So I don't know where it's going to go. I don't want to be a naysayer. My hope is that he ends up right up over here and they start a new pattern of putting commanders up over here. But like Ragnar, when they added him to this shop, he was not up top, he was down below, and he'll show up, but only occasionally. But pretty soon, gold key opening video incoming. I'm going to open all my gold keys on all my accounts, I think. So we're looking at 3,000 over here just on my main. I'll definitely be able to expertise Ragnar from that and more. Should be a very fun video. If you haven't already subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel and throwing a like onto the video, by the way. There's, of course, more we got to talk about. Also, I got to show you, we looted a city that had all these resources in it. I'll talk about that more in just a minute here. Let's continue on with the patch notes, because there is important stuff. And thank you for subscribing to the channel. It really does mean a lot to have your support. The immigration rules change. In the interests of maintaining balance, the unlimited option for cross-season migration have power caps now changed to 100 million. What this means is that after this patch, if you want to try to go roughly, this is an approximation, from one KvK season to another, you cannot be over 100 million power. This is a big deal. This is going to prevent super powerful players from doing this migration back to KvK Season 2, for example. Now, you still can go back to KvK Season 2 if you're at like 99 million power, okay? And that's still pretty close to that border. But gone will be the days where you have people that are many hundreds of millions of power migrating back to KvK Season 2. I think this also might prevent migrating forward from like KvK Season 3 to Season of Conquest Kingdoms, but we'll probably learn more about that after it arrives in game. Up next, and this is a big one, Alliance officers and garrison captains can now send back troops garrisoned in buildings, holy sites, and passes in Lost Kingdom. This is a big deal. It's a bigger deal than it might seem. I made the argument over 2 years ago that it would be amazing if you could kick people from a garrison. and from a rally. And they've already made it so you can kick people from a rally, so that when somebody joins the rally with the wrong troop type, gone are the days where you had to go into your alliance and look at your members and try to search to find them and scroll and scroll and scroll. And meanwhile, troops are dying and you're scrolling and you're trying to find the person you need to kick, and you're scrolling and you're trying to kick them and people are screaming because many troops are dying. They shouldn't be dying. Like, gone are those days, because you can actually kick somebody from the rally and it's really easy to do. You don't need an officer to go and kick them from the alliance. And in the same way, now people are more interested than ever, especially with the Flavius and Zeno combo, and for those that use it, the Flavius and Skippy combo. You want full infantry if you want to use some of the very best talent builds that are available to you. And the second you stop having full infantry, you lose the benefit of talents like Hold the Line. So if you can kick somebody out of the garrison, you're much more likely to be able to actually accomplish the sort of full benefit of going all in on something like the infantry tree. Or more importantly for archers, although the archer garrison is not meta right now, you really couldn't use the best archer talents possible because you couldn't count on having full archers. And when somebody would mess it up, your only option was to like figure out what alliance they're in, kick them out of the alliance. So the ability to remove someone with the wrong troop type from a garrison is a big deal, because not only can you get the benefit of a talent like Whistling Arrows, when the army led by this commander contains only archer units, you get a big effect here, but also there's Phoenix Tail Arrows, when the army led by this commander contains only archer units. So it will now, I think, open up more true possibilities for garrisons. Not that these weren't here before, but they're a lot more viable, which I think is generally a strong play. And so this is something I feel like I mentioned was a great idea literally years ago, to relieve the frustration of players getting kicked and the alliance leaders doing the kicking, and the people who participate in the rally or garrison feeling like they're getting wrecked by a noob. And so this is like a win all the way around. Great choice. Glad the developers have put this in. Again, a huge win. Number 4 is a bit of a quandary to me. Yes, I just used the word quandary. Alliance war information can now be shared in chat. I don't know what war information we're sharing, but I'm intrigued. Go on. Let's find out once the patch arrives what that looks like. Again, subscribe if you want to see all of these things when the patch goes live. Up next, let's see here. Improved Alliance flag display effects for the League of Champions, Osiris League, and Lost Kingdom victors. Hey, we're getting a star now in 254, so we'll actually get to enjoy that benefit. Although, you know, my Restart Kingdom's got, like, I can't even keep track. 3 stars, maybe? 4 stars? So, yeah, that'll be cool to see. Added a button to check commander information during the Wheel of Fortune event. Let me tell you, I actually have videos about every single Wheel of Fortune that shows up. Infantry, Archer, Cavalry, Leadership. So if you want to see information about those commanders, and I give you my rundown on who you should and shouldn't invest in, definitely check out those videos. And number 7, added an option to sort commanders by power. This is deceptively important. Pre-patch, before they added in this filtering, and I am glad that they added in a much more sophisticated filtering system, by default, or at least you could select, to sort by power. And that might not sound like a big deal. Why would you want it to sort by power? Because when you sort by power, the commanders with equipment all bubbled up to the top. So if I wanted to see what 5 or 7 commanders had equipment on, you knew it was your first 5 or 7 commanders in your list. Whereas now, if I'm trying to move, armor around and equipment between my marches that I'm trying to fight with, I got to scroll all over the place to try to find them, or I got to use the filter system, and all of that actually takes longer than what I could do before, which was just, they were already sorted by power. So this filter system plus sorting by power is going to be great, I think, for making it easier to swap gear. And in general, I mean, once we really started fighting in this KvK, I haven't put my Canyon equipment back on for, I feel like, 3 or 4 weeks at this point. So I've basically stopped swapping gear, which I think the developers want you to be moving your gear around and taking advantage of it, and in all the situations where you can enjoy it, but being able to find it quickly and make that a smooth experience, I think is going to be really good. I think the only other thing that, this might sound crazy, oh my god, but this would be so good. Are you ready for this idea? I just had this. But what if you had presets, and stick with me, not by commander, but for all your equipment? In other words, you could have preset number 1, which would be all your marches in your Canyon setup, and preset number 2, which would be all your marches in your KvK setup. I'm just saying, I think that would be super cool, and it would save me time, and I'd actually be able to enjoy my equipment in all the game modes because I'm not worried that I'm going to leave my city and fight in KvK with the wrong stuff on. Like, it'd just be so much easier. Just throwing it out there. Just a suggestion. Crazy idea. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, throw a like on here and consider subscribing. And as a bonus, for those of you that made it this far into the video, dude, we just caught a player off territory and their bubble wore off. And this is the resources they had when I started looting. They had like double of each at the start of this fight. And we got to just plunder, 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 plunder. And the funny part is right when we zeroed their resources, bro, they put on a peace shield. They just came online. Like, we just finished taking every last one of their like 40 billion resources. And then they threw on the peace shield. I got like 160 million resources in total. I counted it up because I poured it in late for this little looting party, but boy, it's been a fun KvK, and if you want to see the final phases where we battle our way in to the maze of forts from 556, I mean, you really can't blame them. I like how I said can't twice. Like, I'm so used to seeing doubles of forts that I started using words twice, IRL. Like, what the hell is happening here? But you can't blame them for playing the meta, right? The meta is to just fort up like a crazy person and try to stop them from getting your RCF. Assuming you want to stop them from getting your RCF. And, you know, like we did this to them in 1075. I feel like we spent a good bit more effort actually defending some stuff, but we also let a bunch of stuff free burn at times. So that was not because we didn't want to defend. That was more because we simply couldn't handle, like, players that were over, I don't know what it was, 200 million power with bottomless troops swarming with 7 marches of 430 a pop. And if you want to swarm like a crazy person, like they've done in 556 and like we've done in 254, check the card up in the top for my video all about swarming. Most people shouldn't do it. And that is probably the first thing, is understanding, should you be swarming? If you enjoyed the video, throw a like on here, consider subscribing. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.